My name is Billy Kelly. I'm a project manager. I manage a service called the Hall House. We work with 9 young people in a residential service who have came through the care system and who are being prepared for leaving the care system. So they've got a very challenging service. I've worked for the organisation for about 12 years now, and I've been a manager for the last 2 or 3 years. Going back to the beginning of last year, I took part in the Lunch and Learn, and I found that really helpful, really enjoyable. It's a very different thing than to anything else that I'd done as a manager before. The opportunity to just to kind of reflect on where I'm at as a person and as a manager and a leader, and also to kind of share those experiences with other managers, I found really helpful. And I guess that was a stepping stone or a springboard for me into getting involved in the coaching. And I've been doing that for the last 6 months, and I just finished up last week, and I've felt many benefits from doing that. I always had this fear. I think a couple of years ago someone said to me that when people hit 35 they don't change. Like, that's them, like that's you. Once you hit 35, the person that you are, that's who you are. And I turned 35 last year, so I was really worried that I was like, oh, is this it? Is this me reached the pinnacle of like my capabilities? And I think, you know, I've learned a lot of things through doing the coaching, and found it to be very supportive of my coach, you know, and it has been a journey that I've been on with her. You know, many benefits from it. I think one of the things that I've learned from it is about establishing what are the things that are important to me in my life, and not just in my life but in my work life. What I'm referring to is what are my values, and ensuring that I, as a leader and as a manager and as a person, that I'm acting in the best interests of my values. Spoke a lot about bravery, and we speak a lot about being brave, and for me I think that's kind of encapsulated what bravery is about. It's very easy in this line of work or whatever to just kind of go from thing to thing and go with the status quo, and if you're not acting in the interests of your values and things that are important to you, you end up living with a real kind of tension and a stress. So I think I've learned to be brave and kind of speak up for the things that are important to me. Just taking the time to pause and reflect and learn has been really important for me. And I've that's something, again, for the last few years in my career. It's been very busy. I've kind of gone from one big task to the next, and one role to the next, and there's probably not been that much room within that just to stop and take a breath and say, right, where am I at? You know, that thing of actually, if I'm 35 or I'm 45 or I'm 55, if I'm willing to do some kind of self-reflection and I'm willing to actually act on what I learned from that, then the potential's there for anybody. I think it certainly gets harder the older you get, because you become more established in who you are and in the way that you do things, but it's not insurmountable. And I think the coaching's really allowed me to just make sure that I'm taking that time to just kind of check in with where I'm at with things, and things that I've tried to push in the last kind of 6 months or so is to develop a culture within my team where we do reflect and we do learn on things that are happening, and that you do that with individuals, but also that we do that as a whole team. So I think in many ways the things that I've been doing with myself, I've tried to kind of role model that to my staff, and develop a culture where, you know, we can give each other feedback, where we can be receptive to things, but also where we're learning from things, we're acknowledging things which are successes, and we're also acknowledging things where we can maybe have done things differently or done things better. And I think as a team that's been massive for us, and I think we're now at a point where that culture is very much embedded in the practice, and often it's the staff that they then begin to take the lead on that. You know, when the days when, you know, I might not be at my best or whatever, there's a culture there of real kind of learning and supporting and acknowledging one another. You know, I spoke at the start about myself in terms of establishing what my values are and ensuring that I'm acting on them. We as a team have spent a lot of time doing that as well. What are the values which dictate, in a sense, how we should be supporting vulnerable people? And I think doing that as a team has been really important for us as well, ensuring that we're all kind of coming from on the same page with that's been really important. We recently, as a service, had an inspection from the Care Inspectorate, and our grades were extraordinarily good, to be honest, and that's not from me, that's from my team, but a lot of the things that they picked up on was just the culture change in the service, and this idea that we have a real strong value base that we work from, and I think that some of that's came from myself trying to lead that, you know, and now it's everybody's part of that. So, you know, I think that we live in a very cynical kind of society, you know, and even in social care, when it's, or you know, beyond social care, we can often get caught up in the kind of cynicism of the day. And I think that I would say to people is that to give this a try, face that fear or that cynicism, and just try it and be open-minded about it. It's not a magic wand thing. You need to be engaged with the process. You need to be willing to work with it, and you need to be willing to do and try things differently. But if you're willing to do that, there's rewards for people if they're willing to go through that process. So give it a go. I think for me, bravery is about knowing what's important to me, knowing what the things are that I value, and ensuring that I'm acting in the best interests of those things, which is harder than it sounds sometimes. So that's, for me, that's what bravery is.